Hey, security. Top 3 gaps walking in.
Yep. So visitor, vendor, coming in for an interview,
Whatever. You got to park. You got to walk in the plant. We're going to tell you the top
employee.
3 gaps we see with security.
All right. Get into it.
Let's go. First, let's talk about security walking in. And it could be a wild week. We are wearing Chief stuff, if everybody doesn't know.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's Sunday.
okay. So don't come for me. I'm from Missouri, and I was a fan of the Chiefs my whole life.
Forever.
When they were terrible, I was a fan of the Chiefs.
So we get to celebrate this time in history.
So this isn't having to do with any recent visitors, although I do love red lipstick. This is just I'm from there, so sorry.
We try to explain that
I'm
to our
not
daughter.
bandwagoning.
We try to explain to our daughter, this isn't real. This isn't always like this.
No, it's not.
We just win all the time.
Yeah.
Right, so walking in, security, we go to hundreds of plants, mills, farms, everything we go to, all different kinds of industries. Yeah. So security is something we always look at.
Yep.
So we decided top 3. Here we go. Walking in, you parked. We're going to walk in there. Some of the things you're thinking about. Well, first of all is that person is walking up to security. One of the first gaps we find is we don't have any training the manager who's managing security.
Yeah, so that can be so typically if you have something that is external security, there's still someone at your location that's kind of assigned to manage them.
That's correct.
Right? And a lot of times it gets tacked on to safety. But it's not
There's no training for
yeah, there's
safety,
no
how to do
training. It's just like,
security.
well, this is your problem now.
Yep.
And so they try and kind of figure out where they need to go, what they need to do, but
So you have 2 parts. One is training the person who's going to manage the process at your location, what they need or don't need.
Yep.
And the second part of that is who is going to manage it there. That's not just day shift. So many plants I go to and I'll be like, so what do we do security? Well, the site manager's not here, so we don't know.
Sorry,
and we're
I'm
like,
just adjusting my
but at the site,
microphone.
it can't be the site manager because site manager has to take vacation out there on all 3 shifts. It's got to be how you're going to manage security is the issue around the clock.
Yeah, so I think just understanding what the expectations are is the first thing. Like where are we at and what do we expect is one, and then what are we actually doing is 2. And a lot of times they're not the same.
Right.
There's like some kind of discord or we're not all on the same page of how and how to manage it.
That's correct. So we find multiple gaps because of that.
Yeah.
Is the policy rise, procedure rise, the
Well, I
training
can tell
rise?
you.
How do we manage it? Third shift, are they when are they ready to go? So do we train this person from the management side and then we say, okay, you have 5 days to train on days. Now you're managing thirds, you're by yourself.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And you think about like what they're expected to know, right? How to deal with weapons on the property, how to deal with bag checks, security checks, we're checking in truckers, evacuations, emergencies.
Fire.
We've got
work with the ambulance and fire departments.
We've got regulators coming on. Do you know what their badges look like? I mean, there's a lot of data when they're the first contact that we're expecting them to know. And so I think just understanding what are we expecting, what are the policies actually, and then what do we expect in the orientation for them to be proficient in or have an understanding of before they're turned loose to do tasks and stuff on their own.
Correct. So number 2 would be the search.
Yeah, bag checks.
Everyone tells me we have search protocols. We check bags. We check for guns. We check for weapons. We check whatever it is in the park. They do rounds in the parking lots to make sure there's nothing crazy. So all
Searches,
of that,
inspections,
the word search,
whatever that is.
Yes.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is that this can be one where people can feel targeted. So we want to make sure that guidelines around this concept of how and what and the methodology and when. Is it random? Is it every 5 people? Is it every single person?
Printed.
You've got to have something, and you also have to know like bags of what. Okay, is this my purse? Is it, what does that include? What is included on the search thing?
That's correct. Oh, by the way, we have to do a legal disclaimer.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so after the first, So this is not cover everything things. You still have to do an evaluation of what's going on at your specific location. So This may not work for every single thing out there, so
These are
just do a
ideas.
risk
That's
evaluation and
correct.
create a customized solution for you. Okay,
These
there we
are
go.
ideas
Have
to
to
how
say
to
that.
look at it. There we go. All right.
Sorry.
So now we go back to I'm searching. So I see somebody come up, and because I do that, I go to the guard checks. I
Mhm.
watch the employees walk up, whoever it is,
Yeah.
vendor, visitor, agency, whatever, walk up.
Yep.
And as they walk up, I see how we're going to manage them. So if they say, well, I don't have a lot of labor, so I can't do bag searches, then maybe you go to clear bags. I've seen
Yeah.
that at locations.
The problem is it'll be, like, out trying to check in or check out, people on the
Trucker or
trucker or
person.
whatever,
Yep.
yeah, and there may not be. So I think that that's part of it too, is making sure that if you have internal and external security, what are the absolutes we have to meet first so that we understand how to staff it if
It's
if a
great.
search is gonna be an absolute
That's
and
right.
if you're not willing to do a clear bag or something like that.
That's
It's
correct.
really defining what are the absolutes that we're not gonna budge on and how do we,
And then next
adapt
part's
to
going to
that.
be now we have items. So we say we're going to search the bag, we're going or search whatever. And as we search that, I'm usually a bag. Here's three things we say we can't have. We find one of the three. Now we go back to
Now
what is the
what?
training of what we're going to do with it.
What is the next
Are we going to
moment?
grab the person? Are we going to grab their bag? Are we going to say, hey, you got to leave here? Because now you got to worry about violence in the workplace started change right
Well,
there at
and
that moment.
here's the other side of that coin. When did we train our employees on what they can bring or not bring?
That's correct.
Is that a new employee? Do they know now they're going to be
Yeah.
late? Now they're
What if I'm
not
coming from
that
an
it's
interview?
changing. They're not clocking in on time, so it's changing their
Right.
pay. So they're
Right.
going to be
Yeah.
aggravated. So did we address training for our folks to understand this person could be not super understanding? They could be aggravated.
Okay. I could be somebody new for an interview, and I don't want to give up someone going through my
Yeah.
purse. I've never heard of that, or my bag, or whoever it is.
Well, I can tell you one that is not my favorite, but I do know that some locations require this for people who are not employees is you have to give up your driver's license.
Correct.
And that freaks me out when I use that to fly and that's my
That's correct.
only way
But
to get in and out. So it's just having that defined like, okay, how do I get in here? What can I bring in? What do I have to leave at the
that's correct.
security area? How are they securing those items that they make you leave there or
Correct.
that you can't bring it? What are you doing with those items? Where do they go? Do they go to the car? Do they stay here? What are we doing with them to get admittance to the property?
Yeah. So the search protocol. Now you find a gun in the bag. Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what's the next move on
Yeah.
that?
Are you gonna perimeter off the area? Are you gonna call 911? Are you going to? I used to work at a very, very, very secure military base. And we didn't have those worries because they were very clear what they were going to do to you if you found something. And we
Yeah.
have to define that one to protect the security person so they're not a violence workplace issue. And then second, we have to protect everyone else around that person that's coming in front and behind them. Because
Yeah.
once we find that, if you've ever identified any type of weapon in a bag, there's five
That's a
other
weird
or
moment.
10 other
The
employees
next
behind
5
them.
seconds is a weird
It's
moment.
gonna be off a little bit.
Yep.
So it's how do you manage that part of the training? So
Well,
from the
part of it could be
security,
part of it could just be education and signage.
it's correct.
This is what's gonna happen. This is our policy. Here's what
Yeah,
happens
because
next if
people
we
will say
identify
we have the
this.
right to search, but they don't really tell people what they're doing.
They don't tell people
And
what they're doing, and they don't tell the people what they're doing the next moment if
it's
they
al-
find these
yeah,
items either.
it's also about not reaching into bags. That
Yeah,
freaks a lot of people
yeah.
out.
Well, it
If
would
you
freak me out.
Yeah, if
Like
you open
reaching
up a
into somebody's
bag,
random bag that I can't see in there.
yeah. So we gotta take care of security and the person that's being
So
affected.
so if you go to sporting events, a lot of times they do have like some kind of wand,
Right.
an amusement park or something where you're having lots of people come through a secured checkpoint area. They don't just reach in with their hand either, because I mean, truly,
Correct.
it could be a concern. So that's a good point.
So that's that one. Oh, by the way, for those you can see us on YouTube,
Oh, hello.
there's an Allen Safety
Oh yeah, you're
uh
supposed to do that.
brand placement.
So I'm a marketing major actually because
Yeah.
I didn't do the safety thing
So
until I
there is some
graduated.
brand
You're
placement.
supposed to do that,
And if you
yeah.
go to one of our 10-hour classes or one of our instrument manager, this is one of the gifts you get to pick. You get to pick
You
one of
get a
these
free gift, yeah.
amazing Koozie Allen safety things
Or
if
if
you
you
want.
go to any of our other classes, you get a shirt or hat or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
too,
whatever
but
you
for
want.
free.
But the
But
point of it is
oh yeah, product placement.
So I've
Yep.
got that set right in the camera
Yep.
so people
Check.
can see it. Like,
Got
all
it.
right, good.
Got it.
I'm trying to learn how to do these. All right. So now the third one is top three. The next one is violence in the workplace in the parking lot. And where
Yeah.
this comes from is you're getting ready to come in and you're going to ask for an ID. So when you get ready to have the ID, sometimes you will have 15 or 20 people backed up and they don't want to be late to work.
Yep.
you will see people get aggravated during that time.
Well, they're losing money.
Yes.
Or they could get written up or
So
something. I mean, it depends on the
someone's
location's
trying to find
policy.
their ID. They're not
Yep.
finding the right. It's that shift change where everybody's going. You also see that whenever they're parking and leaving, sometimes they get aggravated waiting on a certain parking spot.
Yeah.
So they're waiting for someone to leave. They get aggravated with that, and then see yes, they're someone's trying to drop someone off, and then they can't find their ID, and they go back. But you get this weird ID period where they're walking,
the parking and walking and getting through the checkpoint because of what else is going on, or you got something weird going on with a trucker.
There's a lot of variables that move right then, and people get very excited because they're worried about being late.
Yeah, so managing when people are always the most positive and a little to the aggressive side. How do you diffuse that? How do you manage that out? What's the training in the process to deal with that? Because most of the time, we don't provide that.
Correct. So this point, the stop point, is the ID at the guard shack.
Yep.
So what you have to do is you have to back up and say, okay, what triggers this moment?
Let's get rid of whatever that is.
That could trigger.
We got to get rid of that.
Like I was at a location a few weeks ago, and they had all the contractors sign in at the same place as all the plant people.
Yeah, maybe don't have your security guards shift change at that exact moment when everybody's coming to work that day.
Find out when that, and then all the contractors work sure of the policy and procedures. So the employees are trying to get in, so they're not late, so they don't get in trouble. There's a lot of conflict that happens at that moment from that ID is that stopping point where everything kind of funnels together, and you got to manage that time out.
Well, I think we also know, I mean, there's ebbs and flows of when we get a lot of truck traffic and we get a lot of employees at shift change and a lot of people coming in and coming out. We've got to manage our staffing in that area. So maybe that's not the time that we do our rounds of the facility.
So the other thing you'll have is during that ID process is, okay, now I've got 50 people coming. Well, what if somebody got fired yesterday? Ooh. What if somebody's not supposed to be there because just unemployed? They'll slip through sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Time.
Yeah, because it's just it can be very chaotic.
Yeah. So what'll happen is, and people will say, well, when the wave comes through, the 50, 100, because we're trying
they are betting that you're going to be distracted as a security person.
That's correct. So
they know that.
So back to maybe
their employees, they know how bad it can
now
get.
My training is not as good. So it's that moment when all that craziness is happening. So we had the other two things, but this is when they all come together, and we lose that control. So now we have that person who makes it through that system that should have never made it through. Or you're so distracted from doing all IDs, people just walk behind you and they just come in through the person, like a vehicle gate. Or they just go on around
walk in and they're bringing whatever bag they want and whatever stuff they want.
Yeah, we've seen multiple people do that. We've seen multiple contractors where they'll come in where one comes in, the other three get. So it's that process is what we're looking for. But that ID is the control. So stand there is what I do.
Yep.
I stand there and wait. I want to see the shift changes. I want to see the shift change of the location and of security. I want to see how they manage different times a day. I want to see when the main flow of traffic is and how do we staff it correctly. Because that ID is my control point. So you can take all three of these and they all interrelate, but they can all have they're all individuals under the systems. But if you don't watch it, they can all tie in and create lots of conflict. So anyway, so that's our top three for the things that we got when you're walking in.
Yep. And you can see I think that's exactly right. The best time to see if you have any of these opportunities is just evaluate shift change. I agree. Yep.
Right.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. Next week is going to be truckers, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about driving on.
Driving
so that could be managers, employees,
contractors, truckers, shag truck drivers. Yep. And if you want a little bit more information, hop on allensafetycoaching.com.
For any of the subjects we do.
For any of these, we break everything down. We have more examples, more details, how to manage it, how to implement it, and then you can ask us questions for free via email as a member. So hop on there if we didn't cover what you're looking for and you've got more questions. It's a great way to get more data.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Safe, Efficient, Profitable, a worker safety podcast. If you're looking for more in-depth discussions or step-by-step solutions on all of the different safety and regulatory topics, please visit us at www.allensafetycoaching.com for web-based virtual coaching and training, or at www.allen-safety.com to book our team for on-site services, training sessions, to order merchandise, to learn more about our team and what services we provide in the field, or just simply to request a topic for us to cover on our next podcast. If you found today's podcast helpful and would like to support our podcast further, please help us by subscribing, liking, and sharing this podcast with anyone that could benefit from the information we cover here, as that helps us to continue to put out this free content. Thank you so much for your support.